Welcome to Late Night Gaming. I'm Poem. I'm with my pals Woo, Loopy, and McBobber, and we're going to be getting caught up on some of our card reviews. Was it been 3 weeks since we've had time, I guess, to do this, but here we are, and let's get started with our first card. And our first one here is Jabba the Hutt. Woo, you want to tell us about what you think of him and all that good stuff?
Jabba the Hutt's a 2/8 unit with the Underworld and Hutt traits in Cunning Villainous. Cost 4. As a passive effect that makes each trick event you play cost 1 less. And a when played effect that searches the top 8 cards of your deck for a trick event, revealing it and drawing it. The rest go on the bottom of your deck in a random order. So Jabba reads pretty strong. His stats are really high for a 4 cost unit, although they're weighted in a way that makes him not a particularly relevant attacking threat. But his passive effect is incredibly powerful. The tricks themselves are Shoot First, Waylay, as probably the premier 2. And then the other 2 that exist right now are Asteroid Sanctuary and Bamboozle. Bamboozle notably is a heroic card, although it can be free to play in a villainous deck. The place I like this card the most is Mono Yellow Boba, which desperately needed a 4 cost play to bridge its 3 to 5 turn. Something that the green version of Boba didn't really need because it tries to ramp often. It's skipping that 4 turn. So this really powered up the yellow Boba deck. Boba can go absolutely nuts, specifically with these tricks, because Shoot First actually gains him 1 resource because it's free, and then Boba readies a resource. It's kind of like a ramp while killing a unit. I have been a little lukewarm on even playing with this in the green version, though, and that's currently where I'm at with it.
I
Inquisitor can ready him, but why would you?
Yeah, I like him. I like him in mono.
You,
I don't
yeah.
necessarily like him in green, Boba, and yeah, he seems like a cool card. I like him.
Like his big body.
He's thick.
You can buff him if you can buff him. He's gonna stick around. He sticks around all game because no one has the energy to kill him.
Yeah, so then you can surprise strike off him and stuff.
I've given him a lightsaber. I can guarantee you that in the Inquisitor deck. That's actually kind of okay.
All right, that brings us to our next card, Protector. Loopy, you want to tell us about this one?
Protector is a double aspect blue card, which basically gives a unit +1/+1 in Sentinel. I have not played this much because I don't think that it's strong. I mean, it was kind of disappointing that this is what they gave us for double blue. So I'll yield to McBobber, who's probably tried something.
I actually kind of like this card. I like cheat buffs, and Sentinel's pretty cool. It's tough to find a deck for this. I mean, we really only have double blue Krennic, and then maybe double blue Churret or something, but we haven't gotten to him yet. But those are probably the places where this would fit. Yeah, that's about that. It's not really useful in Chewie, because Chewie already has a bunch of Sentinels, so those are probably the 2 leaders I would play this with.
I could see it as being played out of aspect if there's a unit that you want to give Sentinel to so bad that there is a broken interaction. So keep that in the back of your mind, I guess.
Yeah, really far back in your mind, though.
Yeah, 3's a lot for this.
Well,
They have to be quite
they
a
did
combo.
release something that has almost Death Touch. I mean, and that's probably related to what it could do.
Well,
Yeah.
that's only when you're attacking,
Right.
not
Yeah.
defending.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that the issue is less the power level and more that it's not elevating mono blue significantly, whereas Cantina Bouncer, which is the double yellow uncommon, does elevate double yellow significantly.
Yeah, this is just a
I
card.
think
I don't know. Sentinel's good. I mean, maybe in space, the fact that you can buff, either ground or space, and they get, your opponent's coming in with a little weenie rush in space or something. I don't know. I think it's a playable card. It's just, I don't know if it's worth. It doesn't seem like it has the power level of some of the other mono cards, but keep on keeping on, y'all. You got the next one here, Frontline Shuttle, McBotter.
All right, Frontline Shuttle's a 2-cost command card. It's got 1 power, 3 health. It's a vehicle transport with action. Defeat this unit. Attack with a unit, even if it's exhausted. Can't attack bases for this attack. So this card's kind of like Madi, but like better for the most part. You can't attack bases, which can be a downside if you're going aggro, but it's gonna be pretty good. Yeah, you can swing with your Vader again. But I haven't really seen it used to high effectiveness in practice. But I feel like the theory is here of, getting a free attack with the unit is pretty cool. And it's not so easy to destroy like Madi is, that it just dies immediately as soon as it hits the table. So that's good.
Yeah, this guy's kind of I see it as an anti-aggro card. Like you can ready your leader or whatever and like kind of machine gun with your Boba or whatever to try to clear out if they bring in a weenie rush into ground or something. So yeah, I see this as like a way to kind of use your units to stabilize the board. But
I think it has
Yeah, I think it has.
Go ahead, Will.
Has some like sneaky potential here. Like also like against Boba, where I talk about Boba all the time, but like no good to me dead, right? They expect to be able to like stall you or lock you down for a couple turns. This is a very cheap card that you just like kind of bring it in, enables an attack. I think there's some shenanigans you could pull with this, but this is not one that I've like been able to do the thing with yet. There is something going on with it that I think is worth taking a look at.
I think it has synergy with anything that has a strong on-attack ability. So, I mean, you could actually, talking about Boba, if you had this, you could ready 4 resources in 1 turn with Boba Leader, right?
And in theory, you could spend 10 resources on his big turn.
Right.
Well, you pay 2 for this and you get the 2 back, so it's like giving you a free attack essentially.
Yeah.
Yep.
What? Unless you already had it in
play
play
from earlier, right? It's an interesting idea. It's a very interesting card.
Mm-hmm.
You could Bosk and Callus both. Wouldn't that be fun?
Okay. All right. This next card is Wolf. He's a 2-cost aggression unit with a 3/2 stat line. He's a fringe clone. He's got Saboteur, and when played on attack, bases can't be healed for this phase. I mean, I've seen this guy. He's making some constructed decks. He's got a relevant ability, 2 relevant abilities in Saboteur and the lack of healing. 3/2 is a little bit better in ground than 2/3 for a 2-cost. Just that you can trade with, that 3/3 green guy and just whatever, Sabine if you're, things like that. So I like him. I think he's good. Nothing wrong with this guy. Any thoughts?
He's felt strong when I've played him, which was primarily been in draft. I mean, against an Iden or against a Krennic, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I think he's a solid cheap card. Generally pretty playable if you don't care about traits. He has no relevant traits. A clone doesn't matter right now. I'm sure it will eventually, but for now, it's just if you're playing like, I don't know, an IG-88 or something like that, right? If you're not Leia, basically, when you care, if you don't care about the traits, he's pretty good.
Yeah, speaking of that, there was a deck today that made a top 4 of that Take the Initiative tournament, that the Mono Red Sabine deck that was not trait focused, but did not include this deck, and I think this card could have been the difference in winning and losing in a game in that match that he lost to the Krennic, because he got devotioned out of the game. I think Krennic healed like 8 off of a couple devotions, and I think this could have been a pretty defining swing there. So definitely feels like at least a sideboard thing that you'd want access to, and against decks healing.
Right. It's good against Luke too with Saboteur.
Couldn't see that. Power of the Dark Side, Woo.
All right, this one's simple. 3-cost, blue, black, so Vigilance, Villainous, and it's innate trait. An opponent chooses a unit they control, defeat that unit. This card's kind of a staple. It's a defining feature of Blue Villain. There's some incredibly powerful things that this
Mhm.
can do, because notably it can kill leaders. So when you play against a blue villain deck, be careful deploying. You have to consider this card. It's cheap. Um, there are downsides to it, right? Like it kills the weakest unit they have every time. So if that's like a wing leader that buffed something else, you're not particularly happy about this card.
If it's Vader,
But yeah, I mean, I saw it live. It killed a
Right.
Boba Fett that deployed. Boba Fett deployed. Krennic played this. The game was essentially over that turn. Um, it's something that I think will just like be mandatory in these blue villain decks. I think it gives blue villain a good option of just not playing a card on the first turn of the game and taking initiative, using this to kill the turn one play that your opponent played. Just kind of be the reactive deck in that sense. And yeah, I think it's good.
I play a lot of Inquisitor Blue, and I really like this card there. I mean, I had in the first week that I was playing and jamming games, three different people say, "Oh, it hits leaders," like exactly right, because if you're not watching for it, sometimes they're sequencing to put out their leader, and then all of a sudden it's dead.
Yeah, they're in
card.
autopilot and they're not thinking about the entire card pool at all times, and they just get
Right.
blown out. All right, let's see if this guy blows anybody out. Chopper, Loopy.
They did my boy dirty. He's a 1/3, 1-drop. He's Rebel Droid Spectre. If you control another Spectre unit, he gains raid 1. And on attack, he mills a card from the other player's deck. If it's an event, they exhaust a resource. He does not see a Sabine leader. I mean, Sabine has to be deployed to get the raid 1. So he functions as a 1/3 with a sometimes relevant ability. I really like Chopper, the character. I'm a huge Rebels fan. I think this is. I mean, if you're playing like a casual Spectre deck, which I expect, I think that's kind of the point of Hera, being a leader. I mean, he's fun, but I don't think that this is a particularly strong card.
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm quite as down on him as Loopy is here, but I guess I'm looking more towards the future. I think if Spectre becomes a relevant trait where you want lots of Spectres, maybe for a potential ghost or something, now he's a 1-drop, so he gets you more Spectres on the table. If that doesn't matter, then yeah, he's not very good.
And they're. Go ahead.
You go.
I was going to say, they've actually have a 1-drop Spectre, a 2-drop Spectre, a 3-drop Spectre, a 4-drop Spectre, a 5-drop Spectre. I think they're expecting Ghost to be potentially 6.
I'm still hoping we get a hero unit too.
I think this is one of the
We'll see.
weakest unique cards that exist in the game. Like it is almost it's basically a coaster. Like you play a hero cunning deck, like you're not putting this in there. Like it's Chopper, man. Like it's just not. It's just a weird card, like 1/3. Like it's not gonna work. They missed. They would need some crazy powerful like Avengers Assemble. Spectre event, like return your specters back to all the defeated specters back to your hand, or some play one of them or something like that. Like I mean, I don't know, like this guy he sucks.
I've seen a lot of community perception that 1-drops are not good, and I think he's falling into that. Like people think a 1 is basically the same as a 2, and if the stats are low, then why play it?
Well, we're gonna get to a 1-drop soon that is quite good.
And I've turned around on it, particularly actually the like 1-drop Stormtroopers that are 3/1. Those guys can be super helpful now that Vader unit is a thing. It's not bad.
They do feel less bad now that less people are playing the Vader leader, who counters them pretty hard.
Okay. McBobber Rallying Cry.
Rallying Cry. All right, that's a 3-cost double aggression event. With each friendly unit gains raid 2 this phase. I don't think this card's very good, personally. It's temporary buffs are always a very tricky thing for me. I've historically not liked the temporary buff cards, and this falls right in with them. It doesn't do enough for me.
Shout out to Yakos, though. I think I talked about his mono red Sabine today. He did 18 damage in one turn with this card. Still lost that game, unfortunately, but it was pretty epic.
I've seen a good player with the Dudeness. He's had this card. First off, it's a card that says each friendly unit, which I think is the first one that is actually your whole board. If you can get wide in a red deck, I mean, it can be very powerful, right? So I think I underrated in my mind this card. I've seen it played in some good ways.
I think this is a powerful card. This is gas. I mean, it's situational, but I think you can, if you're wide enough, like you can just win the game on a turn.
So how much damage do you want this to do before you're like, if this is 3 cost deal 4, I mean, we play 4 cost to believe in our burn decks, right? We're happy about 3 cost deal 4. Yeah. The problem is that sometimes this can be worse than that. But if you can make that your baseline, I think you're pretty happy. 3 cost deal 4 is a burn effect. The downside here is that, like, once Sabine gets their board controlled and your opponent's at 21 or something, you could still top deck 4 cost to believe in and just deal damage from your hand. This always requires you to have board presence to ever get damage out of it. But also way more upside, right? Today I saw it deal 8 damage. 3 cost deal 8 is that's a lot.
And if we start getting events that, bring in 2 token units, I mean, all of a sudden you're talking if you can have some things that support going wide in double red.
Yeah, if we get more stuff like that, I definitely see more of a reason to play this card. But so far, my experience playing the game, it's hard to stick units to the board. People like to clear stuff, so that's why I'm pretty down.
I'm gonna go ahead and put my flag in the sand here and say that this eventually will be a very powerful card. I will, and if I'm wrong about that, then you can roast me for it. But
then we'll make a video about things we were wrong about.
As we get more, red units that are able to kind of like go face and like have strong attack values, like we can get there. I think this thing's gonna be really good. Jesus. Okay, next card. We've got the Occupier Siege Tank. It's not worth talking about, so.
No, he's right.
It's a
you can read
5/4 aggression unit, Imperial Vehicle Tank with grit. I mean, it doesn't do anything when you play it at 5, which is like, compare that to ambush units, things like that. I don't know. It's just can get killed too easily from stuff at 4. Like, I don't know. I'm not high on this card. I forgot to update the mod with this card, and like nobody said anything for a couple days because like nobody cared because nobody had it in their deck. That's a little personal anecdote.
Oh, it's not a constructed playable card. It's barely a draft playable card, but you sometimes stick it in your draft deck. Need some extra juice.
Yeah, I think you corrected me on it that it might be okay in draft. It's really not. I mean, if you have a bunch of resilience, if you like have 5 resilience that got past you, maybe think about it.
Okay. Loopy Carabast.
Carabast, the Spectre.
Oh, you skipped me.
Oh, I meant Woo. I looked right at Woo.
Carabast away.
No, I looked
Carabast away, my friend.
No, I want Loopy to do Carabast because I want.
I looked right at Woo and I said Loopy.
I'm a big Rebels
fan. The double O's in the name.
Yep.
I don't want the card after that.
Carabast has a sweet picture of Zeb. It's a 2-cost event, heroic and red, and it deals damage to an enemy unit equal to the amount of damage plus 1. I think that it's a borderline constructed card. I tried it in Luke. I didn't particularly like it. I think it kind of synergizes with Leader we'll talk about in a few minutes a little bit better. That might have some damage on it. In draft, it's played pretty good when I've had it in my deck, so I'll say that.
I know Woo had this in his Chirrut deck. Do you want to tell us about how it plays in there?
Pretty mid, actually. There are situations where it does the thing, but it's hard to pull off. It's really not like an early game removal. It's more of like that mid game to late game. You try to enable some blowouts. like 2 cost deal 5 or something. Like you try to set up something up. It's just hard. It's so situational. I was playing it as a one of just like, so, like to see if sometimes it would spike something. But I think like you said, it is quite powerful in draft where units do end up brawling a lot more and surviving, and you can like really reliably get this effect off. And I don't think it's a bad constructed card. I think decks are not tuned in a way right now that things are enabling this very consistently.
Jesus, my kids are just banging on the door. Sorry, guys.
We'll just fix that in post.
All right, I think we got to move on. Keep the pace up. We've got a banger here for Wu, Alliance Dispatcher.
Yeah, so this guy is Alliance Dispatcher is a command heroism card. It's a 1 cost 1/2 rebel with an action. Exhaust it, play a unit from your hand. It costs 1 less. So here's our green hero version of ramp. Like the villains get super laser tech. I think this card is single-handedly like carrying the Luke Green archetype. Notably because in Luke you can give it a shield on the first turn, so it's very hard to interact with. Basically, you have to like ambush something into it the turn you play it with Energy Conversion Lab, or they can like claim and power the dark side, or like make an opening it. But for the most part, it's just ramping you for the rest of the game. It gets really annoying to deal with if you're like playing ahead of curve and then you've got this 1/2 shield and they need to like decide if they want to spend like 2 attacks to get it off the board. The one difference with this and like Super Laser is that the Super Laser will actually ramp you into your leader, which this does not do. But this creates to me more non-games than Super Laser does sometimes. Getting that ramp off of the first turn of the game is absolutely backbreaking. And it's so good in Luke Green that it's making me want to try it in not Luke decks just to see if even without the shield, if you can like make this happen. Obviously much harder when you're not going first in those situations because they could kill it with any 2-drop. But at the very least, it's in Luke Green. This card is an absolute house.
Yeah, I liked it okay in Leia too because Leia's fast. Okay, so I mean it's not bad there, and then you can be a little bit ahead of the curve. I don't think it's as good as Super Laser Tech. I think that the protection's there. As far as Luke Green and this guy goes, if you weren't already running 3 Sabines, if you're playing Hero Red, I mean that's a very, very good card into that particular interaction. But you should be running 3 Sabines.
Yeah, but you should, yeah. And then if Luke is going first, they don't need to shield it. They can just play it, and then they see Sabine come out. They just claim and get the 1-shot ramp off of this, which is still sometimes powerful enough, especially if they get to put like a Sentinel in front of it. I don't know if like in Leia aggro I would play this guy personally. I think you just need to lead with gas in those decks. You need to play your A-Wings or your Sabines or Battlefield Marines and like start getting damage in.
This guy is such a freaking banger, dude. He is so good. Like the first time I saw him like in a Luke deck, like Rebel Trader just completely cleaned my absolute clock with this guy. He just got it down turn 1 and just every single turn he's getting a bigger dude than me. It was just like freaking over. Like what do? Do you clear the big guy that just came out? Or do you try to deal with this guy? Like, it's just such a freaking crazy good card. This thing is insane. I'm not going to say it's better than Super Laser Technician. They're just totally different cards. I don't know. They're both very powerful, totally powerful, like very, very good cards. This is an absolute banger.
Yeah, I don't think it's better, mostly because I think that Super Laser Tech is just like mandatory in all villain green decks, and this guy is more, I think, mostly just a Luke card right now, but...
yeah. Okay. I don't know. The turn 2 K2 with Leia is not bad. I mean,
just beat us with it, and then we'll respect it.
Yeah, I'm gonna press doubt on the trying to ramp in Leia.
All right, McBobber Regional Sympathizers.
It's a trash card for constructed. It's not very good in draft either, but you might draft it early on when you're not sure what your aspects are going to be, but you want to be hero, and that's pretty much
it's a very
that.
polite way of talk about the
What
card.
does it do?
He didn't even read it.
What does it do, McBobber?
I guess I should say what it does. All right. It's a 4-cost heroism card. It's a rebel. It's a 3/4, and it has Restore 2.
Restore 2 is not good, McBobber?
Not good enough to play a 4-cost 3/4.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a 4 cost, not a
Yeah.
3 cost.
It's
It looks like
Yeah.
a 3 cost.
It's got all the abilities and stats of a 3 cost, but
It
it
looks
costs
like a
4.
vehicle, and it is not.
It's just the guy driving
Right.
the vehicle. That's all.
It's the chauffeur in there.
Yeah. All right. So this one's a coaster. I will yield my turn so that Wu can tell us about Chirrut.
All right, sure. Chirrut is the newest leader revealed. He's the cunning heroism rare hero. He's a 5. He deploys at 5. He's a 3/5. His leader side has an activated ability that gives a unit +2 health for the remainder of the round. And his unit side is a 3/5 force rebel trait that says during the action phase, this unit isn't defeated by having no remaining HP. During the regroup phase, if he has no remaining HP, defeat him. So when I initially saw this card, I was just like, oh my god, look at the stats compared to like Boba, and it's just like sad. It's still sad, but I actually think this guy's really good, and I think I was wrong in my initial impression of him. His hero ability is like the this can't die this turn. It's just it's so annoying for your opponent. Outside of takedown, which does one-shot him, so if you're playing against blue decks, you need to be very cognizant of that. Like, you need to not deploy this the same way we talk about you're playing against blue villain. You can't be deploying your leader into an empty board. Well, you can't be deploying this into 4 open resources against the blue deck until you can make sure you can get like a lightsaber on him. But he creates some real swingy turns when he comes out. He enables force throws. He enables it binds. Like, another card I've disliked massively for so long actually works so beautifully with this guy because he takes damage and he doesn't die. So you have the target for it.
I remember when this was revealed and you were bashing on Chirrut, I'm like, I think you're just salty because it binds is playable now.
Yeah, might be. I think this is like one of the better leaders in the game right now. I don't think it reaches Boba tier, and I think Boba kind of like it has this like gloomy cloud over everything. But like right below him, I put this guy with like Luke and Leia, and like this guy can hold his own against like all the competitive decks because of the crazy turns he enables when he comes out. Like force throw, it binds plus
I just
2-drop.
This is
come
what I
out.
wanted Wu to bring to the tournament we had today, but
I should have, I should have. I was
yeah,
very
I
close.
think this is kind of like Wu's little project that he's working on the side, and as new cards come out and things like that, it's just gonna keep getting better. I really like this Chirrut deck that he has brewing.
Yeah, it's very close to what my Luke Red deck is, but I do think Chirrut's a little better. If only he were 3/6. It would be a huge difference.
5 is a superpower in this game. It just is. Like 5, the difference from 5 to 6 is so big in this game. It really is. Like the force throw. Just that card is a cheap enabler for that card.
Yes.
But if you can get him out safely and then a lightsaber on him, I mean, you're in great shape.
Sweet. Well, the next card here is the Reinforcement Walker. I'll talk about this one. It's a 8-cost command vehicle ground unit with Walker trait. It's a 6/9. It's got when played on attack. Look at the top card of your deck. Either draw that card or discard it and heal 3 from your base. I'm kind of off and on this card with my Tarkin deck. I think it's very good with like Piet because you can heal 6. The question is whether the game is already decided by the time that occurs. But if you're able to kind of figure out how to stabilize your board early, then this is a consideration in a deck like that in a late game to try to stabilize. Even it lacks synergy with the deck. It doesn't have the Imperial, unfortunately. which is bizarre to me. I don't know the lore, but that certainly looks like an Imperial walker. So, anyhow, any other thoughts about the reinforcement walker from the peanut gallery? Nope. Don't.
Yeah,
You're the Tarkin guy.
Don't get cocky for Loopy.
Don't get coaster. Okay, it's a 4-drop gambit, and it says choose a unit, and basically you draw up to 7 cards, and then if the combined cost of them is 7 or less, deal that much damage to a chosen unit. So it's like unreliable removal for 4 in most decks because you might bust. It's kind of like blackjack. It's kind of a cool theme card, but I think it's real hard to implement. I mean, maybe if there's a deck that's like playing all 1-drops for some reason, trying to do Vanguard Ace things or whatever. I mean, maybe then you consider it if you can even it out, but I think it's hard to use.
Yeah, what he said.
Oh, sorry. This guy's my mic was muted. Nick Bobber, confiscate.
Yeah, I get all the draft cards.
Well, why don't you take Why don't you take Bendu
probably-
on the next one? I'll do confiscate. This
Yeah, or we can just skip comp. Like, it defeats an upgrade. It's like a sideboard sometimes. Next.
It's
All right.
sideboarded if you're worried about
The
trader.
meta-dependent sideboard,
and
maybe.
You don't have red. I mean, because if you have red, you have better options.
All right. I was considering this for trying to deal with the shield on those 3/2 ships that the Boba plays. I just can't get that shield off of there. Just like pay. All right, I'll just pay 1. Just deal. Now the shield's off, and now I can barrage you and kill you with my whatever my 2/1 whatever. I don't know the names of the cards.
Next.
Wait,
TIE
why
Fighter.
not play
This
TIE
one.
Fighter instead?
Yeah, you don't need to play confiscate in your decks.
TIE Fighter's a better confiscate if that's your goal.
Tell us about Bendu.
All right, Bendu is 6 cost, double vigilance. He's a force creature. He's a 4/7, and he has Sentinel. Plus, on attack, the next non-hero, non-villainous card you play this phase costs 2 less. So he's one of the big rewards for playing double vigilance. He's pretty good. I mean, he's very similar to Obi-Wan. They're both 6 drops with Sentinel. They got big bodies with 4 attack, and they're hard to deal with. But whereas Obi-Wan kind of is, well, he's also heroism only, but Obi-Wan's a little bit more, if you expect him to die, he's better. Where if Bendu can live around and get that attack, that just counts pretty good. So I like Bendu.
Yeah, note the main cards he reduces in cost that would probably be in your deck are things like Takedown, Vanquish, another copy of himself, which is interesting if he like attacks then gets killed and you could play a new one for 4.
Makes Moment of Peace free.
It binds all things, becomes 3. Yeah. I think in Hero it's just kind of weird because like they had this slot filled already with another chunky Sentinel, so I think this helped the villain version more. Although they also had a 6-drop 5/5 Sentinel, the Walker. So like, it's just I feel like these double cunning cards, like with Protector 2, they're just like doing more of what the cards themselves were already doing in these decks.
Have you tried this in Monochronic, McBobber?
I haven't had the chance yet. I haven't actually played a game since Bendu came out. So
Maybe later.
I had to give that a shot tonight.
It seems like that's where Mono Blue could be, right? Because Charlton's good.
All right. Our next card is The Force is With Me, and I forgot whose turn it is.
Oh, yours.
Okay. It's a 4-cost. What's the blue? Vigilance, heroism, force event, and it says choose a friendly unit and give 2 experience tokens to it. If you control a force unit, also give a shield token to the chosen unit. You may attack with the chosen unit. All I know about this card is that when it was revealed and I asked Wu, I said, forces with me. Is this going to go in your Chirrut deck? And he was like, kind of like, not even sure it goes in there, and it's got the picture of Chirrut on it. So I'm assuming it's not all that great. I don't know. That's as far as I can go with my assessment is what
Well, you messaged me after I had tried it a
Yeah.
bunch that day. I like the text on this card. I don't like the number in the top left of it that says 4. And that's like, it's just clunky sometimes. It was never helping me in the matchups that like I needed help in, which were against like Boba Fett and Leia. It was just eating up a turn. It was not breaking thresholds to be able to like kill Boba. Like you can't put this on Kanan to kill Boba Fett. You can't put it on Chirrut to kill Boba Fett. It was just awkward, and I usually wanted to do more things on the Chirrut turn, like force throw. It binds, takedown, force throw. This is a good card, and it is in the deck. So I did think it was warranted a slot. It was just often something I was signing out in like some of the more meta matchups, which was kind of discouraging me a bit on it.
So I just have a story about this. So it's neither good or bad because it's kind of part wing leader, it's kind of part fleet lieutenant, and it's kind of part moment to piece. And then I think it was Bobby Sapphire in the chat says man bear pig. You know, because it's a little bit of each. I think it plays in Chirrut, if anything.
It probably does. Like, I don't want to. I know I said a lot of down things on it. It is a powerful effect, and it is something like that needs to be in consideration, and it probably warrants some space in the deck. I guess I just originally was like, looked at it and I was like, oh, like this just elevates the deck massively, and it didn't feel like it did like any significant like change in how the deck was playing against some of the more difficult matchups.
Though look for the art on cards, right? Because I think they suggest what decks things are supposed to be in.
All right. Our next card here is the Escort Skiff. Gotta go fast. Woo. Is it
Escort Sif is a 4-cost command unit. It's a 4/4 underworld vehicle speeder. While you control another command unit, this unit gains ambush. This card's pretty good. It's another Luke Green card, I think, because you can turn 2 with the Dispatcher, play this, and that's very strong. The downside here a little bit is 4, because everything in that deck already deals 4 damage. That it's like it's tough sometimes to reach different breakpoints. It also doesn't have like the heroism trait or any other really relevant traits. But I think the card is strong. It's definitely a consideration for me when I was like ran Luke Green this tournament that happened. I ended up opting against it just because, again, it wasn't helping in the matchups that I wanted to like get help in, which is Boba Fett. Like the 4 breakpoint wasn't where I wanted to be, but I think in general, like this is a card that will like be a consideration for Luke with the Dispatcher because it's a very strong turn 2 play.
Okay, we gotta keep keeping on. Rook, Loopy.
Rook is Thrawn's assassin, but green somehow. A 5-cost, 3/6, shielded, and when you play this unit, if it deals combat damage while attacking, it defeats that unit. So it's not Death Touch. It's kind of a similar effect. If you can ECL this, that's very strong. If you can bring it in with Ozzel, it's very strong. It can be kind of slow.
Spawning.
Oops.
You can do the shield trick with the energy conversion lab, where you like it attacks, gets damaged, and then you put the shield on back on after the damage happens.
It makes me want to play Inquisitor Green, which I started because of this guy.
I think this was.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to trying this guy out.
I feel like he was the super hyped card when we first saw him. We're like, oh my god, the freaking game, the world is over. Like this is it. But then when you just try to actually like, push the power level, it's not actually sure. We're not actually sure he's there.
It's just there's this energy conversion lab tax. Like every card wants it, and then like they can't all have it, and then he's just kind of clunky when you're not ambushing with him.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Gamorrean guards, McBobber. Another.
This card's pretty vanilla. It's a 4-drop cunning card. It's a 4/4 with the Underworld trait, which isn't relevant yet. And the simple text of if you control another cunning unit, this unit gains Sentinel. This card might not look like much at first. I actually think there might be some potential here. Sentinel's not something that cunning usually gets access to. And I've only seen this used in draft so far, but it was pretty good there. But I don't know exactly where it fits in a constructed sense, but maybe just like a mono cutting deck. But I think there's some potential.
All right, what about Baze? He's a 4 cost. He's a vigilance ground unit. He's got Fringe with a 2/5. He's got Grit and Sentinel. And you have to have initiative.
Sometimes.
I don't know. This guy's just bad, right? Like is he? He's weird. Cost 4, doesn't do anything when he comes in.
Well, its Sentinel does do something when he comes in. If you have initiative, it's just weird stats. Like it's like yeah.
The theme of this seems weird too, because like I feel like the best places to use him is like maybe Krennic or Grand Inquisitor, right. and it's weird because he's he's one of the heroes, and why is he not heroism? But why is he not a rebel? I guess it's just the snapshot of the character. It must be like before he did all those things, but it just seems a little strange to me that he's best in those villain decks. He's not really that good with Chirrut.
Well, Chirrut's passive leader effect or active leader effect makes his health go up, and then
until he dies.
Theoretically, if they then decide to attack into him a bunch, he can go ham with that.
I think he's if he plays, I think it's with Inquisitor, but I'm not convinced on that either, because Inquisitor doesn't get initiative much.
All right, we're gonna go and wrap it there. We got our stream. We're about to start here, so thank you all for tuning in. If you made it this far, you're my hero.
Thanks for watching, everyone.